it recording? I think it's recording. All right. Cool. So Kaz, Silas, Ashik, you guys
Yep.
Hey,
What's up?
yeah, what's
Very
up, bro?
good. Cool. All right. So welcome everyone. I just want to give a quick little explanation of who we are and what's going on here. So let me mute everyone first because I do hear some background noise. All right, cool. So again, a lot of you guys may recognize me from the Forex webinars that we've been doing. And if that's the case, welcome back. My name is JP. I am a trader of about 9 years. And with me, I have my business partners, Kaz, Sheik, and Silas. And we own a company called Deep Blue, which is a crypto education and signal providing platform. And as members of Epic, we're going to be doing a weekly crypto webinar for you guys and helping you guys understand the logic behind crypto. And we're going to do weekly charting with you guys to show you some trade opportunities. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I know we have a lot of people in here that may not have traded crypto in the past, or maybe you've only heard of Bitcoin, but you haven't really gotten involved with it. So if you're coming in here as a Forex trader, then it's a good opportunity for you to expand and kind of diversify your trading into different industries, right? And crypto does trade differently than Forex. And we'll talk a little bit about that and the fundamentals behind the crypto market, why we think it's a disruptive space, and why we think everyone should have a small and calculated stake in the crypto market. So without further ado, I want to kind of, let me do this first. So the people that are here in the chat, can you put a 1 in the chat if you're totally new to crypto, like you've never invested in crypto before, you've heard of Bitcoin, but you don't own any cryptocurrencies? All right, so we do have some people that are not invested in crypto so far. So hopefully by the end of this this talk we're going to have tonight, it's going to be about an hour. I hope to have you guys fired up about the crypto movement, and we're going to show you some ways that you can really easily get involved as a crypto investor and answer some questions that you may have. So Silas, do you want to hop on and kind of talk a little bit about maybe the history kind of, or Kaz or whoever? Do you guys want to kind of do a quick like elevator rundown of crypto and kind of why it's an exciting space to be in?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it. All right. So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kazi. Little introduction of myself. I've been an equities trader for about, I'd say, 6 or 7 years, and I've been involved with crypto since about late 2016, early 2017, right before things got really crazy. And then I've also been involved throughout the whole bear market period. So I've got some screen time in this industry, to say the least. But let's get started on Bitcoin. All right. So I'm sure some of you have heard of Bitcoin, some of you haven't. But what makes Bitcoin actually special is it's the only asset that actually is completely accounted for. There's no guessing in how much is actually out there or how much you can find. Not like gold, you can mine it. We really don't know how much gold is under the ocean. We don't know how much gold could be, found on some kind of asteroid, whatever you want to say, but it's not accounted for. It's a bit of a guessing game. Same thing with diamonds, right? We look at diamonds as something as valuable, but also, we don't know what the limited supply of diamonds are. So that's where Bitcoin kind of gets a little bit special. We know that the total supply of Bitcoin is 21 million. We're actually not at 21 million right now. We'll get a little bit into that further down the line. But the next question you might be having is, well, there's all these other things. Why is Bitcoin special and not Ethereum? Although Ethereum is special, but not, all these other cryptocurrencies you may or may
What
not have
makes
heard of.
Bitcoin unique, really, is what a lot of people ask me. Like, why is Bitcoin like the dominant uh, store of value in the crypto space?
Yeah. So the main thing is it's got the first mover advantage, right? So Bitcoin has the biggest hash rate of all the other cryptos in the industry. And what is the hash rate? The hash rate is actually the global computing power behind the network. And that's what actually secures Bitcoin. So that were to try to do something malicious with Bitcoin, they would need to take over at least 51% of the hashing power of Bitcoin in order to do what we would call is a 51% attack. That's a little bit impossible at this point and would be extremely expensive. So it's not actually feasible for anyone to do that. Maybe, in 2011, 2009, or 2010, when Bitcoin was a bit experimental, but at this point, the hash rate is, so high that it's actually impossible. A lot of people might say, there's going to be quantum computing and, computers are going to get better. But with that, also the mining equipment will also get better. So it's, there's a little
Yeah.
bit of balance there. So why is that special? Well, if you're someone with $1 billion, you're going to park it in the most secure place you can. And if you're going to choose crypto to do it, the most secure crypto is Bitcoin for that reason. You might see other coins that are actually worth more than Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean they're the most secure. So
Hmm.
that's why Bitcoin's special.
Yeah.
The other reason is Satoshi, whether you may have heard this or not, the said creator of Bitcoin is actually anonymous. No one really knows who this person is, so it could be a group.
I was gonna
It
say we
could be
might want to
anything.
back it up and actually talk a little bit about like what crypto is. I think we might be making assumptions that people in here even have the
Mm.
first understanding. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about like what a digital currency is real quick and like blockchain and Satoshi. I don't know if Silas is here if he wants to chime in. I know he has some of that stuff in his ebook, but yeah, maybe we should back up and kind of cover that. Damon brought up a good point in the chat.
Yeah, I think you have a good point there. Okay, so what is Bitcoin though, right? Bitcoin is basically digital currency, right? It's the money that is stored on the internet. It's a currency and a network. So, what do I mean by it's a network? Well, I'm pretty sure you've all used, Google Drive or Microsoft. What's it called? The one from Microsoft. And it's cool because you can store your files and access it from work, access it from your cell phone, access it from anywhere. Well, Bitcoin kind of works the same way. It's that what you own, what Bitcoin that you have ownership of is actually just stored in on the network. That's secured by the hash rate that we were talking about. So what that allows you to do is you don't actually have to carry it. Now, why does that mean anything? Well, if you've ever traveled, this is just one example, but let's say you're traveling. If you're traveling with more than $10,000, you would have to declare it. You would have to, state what you're doing with it, where you're going with that, and all this other crazy things. With something like Bitcoin, though, all you would have to do is memorize your basically your account,
Hmm.
which would be your private keys, right? And it could be in the form of 12 words that you could write down or even memorize, and that would that would actually allow you access to carry any amount of money that you actually own. So you can travel with $1 million and no one can take it from you, or no one can actually prove you have it unless you tell them you have it. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
If you don't understand why that's powerful, if you don't declare what you're traveling with, this is just one example, by the way. Customs might actually seize your money, and I've seen this happen because I used to work in the airport. So that's just one example of what makes Bitcoin special.
The
The other reason
decentralized
is,
nation of it, or the decentralized nature of Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrencies in general is kind of uh, in itself unique and powerful. I think, like he was saying, it's kind of a hedge against the global
The
system
system. Yep.
that's currently here. So if you think that there are uncertainties in the way that the global economy is running, whatever the case may be, you think that the global economy is being run unjustly, whatever the case may be, cryptocurrencies in general is a hedge against that system because it is decentralized. It's not governed by any body. No uh, agency or anything in the world controls Bitcoin. Bitcoin is self-fulfilling. It is decentralized such that it is its own secure asset. So it really puts you in control of your money. And I think especially in today's world, it's important to hedge against the destabilization of our global economy. And that's why having a little bit of cryptocurrency is a good idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, it essentially lets you be your own bank, for lack of better words, because no one can take your money from you unless you give it to them. Let's say you have X amount of money in the bank and something happens and they seize your assets. That can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no one can do that to the Bitcoin you have stored in your own wallet. And a wallet is something that you control, just like, the wallet in your pocket. A digital wallet is something that you own, and no one can actually seize that from you unless, if you get hacked or something. But that's,
And we're going to talk
we'll
about
cover that
security and
later.
stuff like that as well. But yeah, I mean, it really puts you in control of what you have, like you were saying. And that in itself is really valuable. And I see Ashik is also answering some questions in the chat.
Absolutely.
And yeah, Silas, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly what these guys were saying. That's that's definitely factual. Cryptocurrency, it isn't like they were saying. It's not backed by banks. It's not backed by the government. I mean, only thing that it's really running off of is essentially electricity. And that's encoded into complex strings of several algorithms. That's it. Just numbers.
And there's a lot of people that say that Bitcoin, sorry, Silas, to interrupt, but there's a lot of people saying that Bitcoin, oh, it's like so speculative, it's going to get shut down by the US government. Everyone needs to understand that you physically cannot shut down Bitcoin at this point unless you killed the internet. Like it's one of those things where it's so decentralized, it's so widespread. It's like Pandora's box, right? There's so many users of this movement globally that it cannot be killed or regulated. I mean, it will be self-sustaining as long as there's internet or as long as there is electricity, like Silas was saying.
Exactly. So somebody would, technically have to go underwater, in the ocean and, cut the plug, but that's not going to happen now. Another thing with Bitcoin in particular, what makes it so, valuable right now, if people see value in it, there's only 21 million, of these, like I was saying, algorithms. There's only 21 million of these made. So it can't be, no more, no less. It can't be altered. Nobody can print more of it. So like we have today, the government just printing, pumping more money into the system, as we see, the quantitative easing that we have right now. So that can't be done with Bitcoin.
And it comes down,
or by a bank altering a digital ledger.
right? And it comes down to supply and demand at that point. For those of you guys that are traders in other industries, or maybe you're an investor, like Silas and Kazi have said, it is a fixed supply. I mean, you can never add to this number. So owning one Bitcoin becomes so valuable as the demand increases because the supply will never increase. So it's basic economics at that point. And that's why owning even a little bit of Bitcoin going into the future, as all of it gets, well, I don't want to say the word mined because I'm going to confuse people, but because it's a fixed supply and it can never be added to, 20 years from now, one Bitcoin is inevitably going to be worth more because the demand is increasing and the supply isn't. Yes, so Carl, mining is creating more, but there is a cap to that. And we'll talk a little bit on one of these other webinars, just to try not to confuse people too much. But Bitcoin also does something called a halving every couple of years or every few years, and the reward for mining decreases. So it kind of fights inflation. It's coded to fight inflation in that way, but there still is a fixed cap on Bitcoin. The number 21 million cannot ever be increased.
Yeah, so basically what's happening is Bitcoin's actually a deflationary asset. in the sense of the halvening will decrease the rate of inflation of the Bitcoin supply. But the rate of inflation has a maximum cap, which is 21 million. And you can actually do the math. The year 2021-40 is when the last Bitcoin will be mined. So we got a long way to go.
Yeah, and
But
if we pull this up, so there's currently 18.5 million. I just typed this in. I don't know how accurate this is. Yeah, it's Investopedia 2020. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. So it is limited to 21 million. 18.5 is what it's currently at. And like Kazi said, I think, what is it, 2040 something? I don't remember what it was exactly, but it's estimated to be like 2040-ish. So about 20 years from now is when the last Bitcoin will be mined. And you may be thinking,
no,
okay,
it's 2140.
oh, 2140.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
right.
I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
we'll be long gone probably.
Yeah, it will be long. So we'll be, yeah, I forgot. And that also goes to show how aggressively the mining process decreases, or the reward decreases every time that it halves. Which, what is it, every approximately every 4
Every
years?
4 years.
Every 4 years?
4 years, yeah.
So how can one invest into Bitcoin outside of fiat spectrum? So we're going to get into on-ramps to Bitcoin and stuff like that here in a little bit. I just kind of wanted to cover the history behind it a little bit and make sure everyone understands what a digital asset is, kind of the importance of hedging, having some exposure to the crypto space, especially if you're a serious investor, you're a serious trader. I think that crypto is going to be an increasingly important part of all of our lives, blockchain technology included. Within the next 5-10 years, it's going to be very explosive. So I think
Absolutely.
everyone should definitely have some exposure to it. Now, that doesn't mean you should put your life savings 100% into crypto, but if you're taking your investment seriously, find a percentage of your overall portfolio to diversify into crypto, and come to these weekly webinars and we'll help you do it. But yeah, so about as far as the history goes and kind of the foundation of Bitcoin, does anybody have any other specific questions about that?
Yeah, I have actually something interesting to share as well. It's particularly with the government. Congress actually brought out a bill earlier this year in March, so I could share that with you. But does anybody else have any questions about the history or anything?
I see someone's asking about Satoshis. Okay, so Satoshis are basically, well, the name Satoshi basically comes from the whoever or the group that's responsible creating Bitcoin. But what Satoshis basically mean is the smallest decimal breakdown of a Bitcoin. So, one Bitcoin currently is worth about, I don't know, I forgot. What was it trading at? 10,600, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, about 10,500, let's say. That's how much one Bitcoin is currently worth. But that doesn't mean you necessarily need to spend 10 grand, $10,000 to buy a Bitcoin. You can have $20 worth of Bitcoin. You can do a transaction where you have to pay somebody for a computer or something, and you pay them $100 worth of Bitcoin. So in
Here's
that
an
sense,
example
you
real
would be
quick.
paying them the Satoshis, right? So a Satoshi is the smallest divisible number of a Bitcoin. So it's I believe it divides into 8 decimals. So
Yeah.
0.000001 would be one Satoshi, and it can be like maybe one day if Bitcoin hits a very high valuation, you'll pay people in Satoshis. So a cup of coffee might cost 2 Satoshis or something. So it's just a way of looking at the currency.
Yeah, and like as she said in the chat, it is kind of like penny to the dollar kind of thing. It's a small unit. So $100 equals 0.0093 Bitcoin. Used to be super sketchy about crypto too, but it's the future. Yeah, I mean, and the crypto movement has exploded so much since 2017. And well, I guess it's really exploded so much the past 10 years in general. But I got in 2016, and even at that point, 2017 was an explosive year. There was record-breaking gains across the board. I've never got BTC hacked. It's secure, at least on my end. So we'll talk a lot about security. Actually, Silas and Kazi and Ashik, all three of them are what I would consider pretty expert level on security of cryptos. And so we'll talk a lot about that, because we want you guys to make sure that you understand the importance of that. Silas, do you have that article pulled up? Do you want to share your screen and like just
Yeah,
go
sure.
through it real quick? I think it's important.
Definitely important. When we're talking about this becoming, mainstream adoption, this is definitely a start.
I don't know how to.
Oh, here we go.
Can you
I think
share
you
your
got-
screen?
Yeah, I will stop.
Yeah, we'll just cover this article real quick, guys. It was something that the U.S. government put out recently about mandating crypto, and I think it's going to be important in the next in the relative future. So we can have him kind of go through that real quick, kind of explain what's happening.
All right, you guys see that?
Yep.
Perfect.
Just do a quick run through.
Yeah, so this came out. I'm not going to go over the whole Congress bill here, but
It's wordy.
this came out, and they started talking about it in March 23rd. So that was around the pandemic, coronavirus, and everything happening here. It's crazy times. But Banking for All Act, S.3571 is the act here. The one thing that stood out particular to me here, let me search for it here for you. Pull it up here. I mean, we're talking about going mainstream here. This is definitely a start. So let me read this out to you. Section .5, authority and mandate for Federal Reserve banks to maintain digital dollar wallets for the general public. And you go down here. So this is a mandate, an actual mandate that they're proposing. All Federal Reserve banks shall not later than January 1st, 2021, make digital wallets available to all residents and citizens of the United States and to businesses domiciled in the United States. So that's huge, in my opinion. I mean, that's pretty huge in terms of introduction to this into the population.
Mhm.
I mean, especially you probably already heard things about the digital dollar coming about. You've probably seen that on the media, social media, probably.
Yeah, there was the whole the Facebook Libra thing, also Facebook dollar. So,
Exactly, the Libra coin. You're starting to see a lot of this, pattern occurring here, and I mean that's just making us, go into closer, becoming closer into, just mass adoption. I mean, that's all over the world. But this one in particular is, it's just talking about, just bringing a digital dollar. So, I mean, we don't know if it's going to be, we don't know if it's going to be Bitcoin, or we don't know what particular cryptocurrency. We have a feeling that it's going to be more, Federal Reserve is probably going to create their own type of currency, more of a stable coin they can control. And of course, instead of printing, they can possibly, just input numbers, so still inflating the currency like they are. But this doesn't mean that, we can't still use, other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and there's so many others we're going to show you in the market cap shows the top coins right now, top 10 in particular.
Yep. Yeah, and I think in part it boils down to like if you can't beat them, join them kind of mentality, because I think that the government understands that Bitcoin can't be stopped. The value, the advantages of a digital dollar across the board just makes sense, but I think they've been fighting it for so long because they want to. They always want to retain full control, obviously, of the population, and cryptocurrency in general, it takes the control out of their hands. And so I think they're trying to kind of reel that back in with their own digital dollar, which I think is probably going to be something that we're going to hear a lot more about in 2021, especially with all of with the way that our U.S. economy has been handled throughout this pandemic and the quantitative easing. And I mean, I don't want to get into the stock market and all that, but just in general, I think that we're going to see a shift. And historically, we've seen a shift throughout time so many times. You know, initially, the currency was food, or the currency was, you know, a sharper stick that you can go hunt with, or then it was a commodity. It was gold or silver, and then it was fiat currencies. It was just paper money. But we're coming to a point in, you know, just the global economic status that I think there's a lot of evidence forming that there's going to be another shift into a digital currency for governments. And when that happens, you know, or if and when that happens, people that are ahead of the game in the crypto space already are going to be much more comfortable. And that's not to say that these cryptocurrency projects are not going to still be around once the government hops on board and they start creating their own currencies and stuff like that. I think that it's always going to be an asset that people can own, because like you said, if the demand for Bitcoin is there, even if it's not being used as a day-to-day currency, maybe you're not buying coffee with Bitcoin, but maybe it's a store of value, and you know, maybe it has the demand of a commodity in a way. So really exciting times coming together. And so that's a little bit about Bitcoin, kind of the crypto space in general, why we think it's important to learn about it now. It can be really confusing. We're going to try to make it as simple as possible for you guys. And maybe next, do you want to talk about some of the main ways for people? I know we've got some foreigners in here too. I don't know if the um, if the if the places we use to buy and sell they probably aren't available in Australia, but I can do research and we'll find the ones for people in Australia or wherever you guys are at, and we can make recommendations to where you should buy and sell. But
yeah, I mean, I think Coinbase might be the most global for the most part, and then there's probably some intermarket exchanges or whatnot, but Coinbase is probably in most places.
Yeah, especially in the U.S. You know, that's one of the only regulated right now, that the government is actually allowing to operate in the U.S. Along with Gemini. So that's the thing. You're going to see a lot of companies, businesses. For example, J.P. Morgan, they've already got into the blockchain space. You know, you got several companies, banks, NASDAQ. They created what is called BACT, BAKKT, I believe, and that's going to be an actual exchange that they're going to allow, actual companies to put their, they're going to tokenize basically their stocks is what's going to end up happening. So, you could see Apple, for example. Apple can tokenize it, actually put it on the blockchain, and they can actually, do all of their programming through that. So that's what blockchain does. It allows for you to, it opens up a whole new programming space for coders. There's just so much more you can find out through blockchain. You're going to start seeing that a lot with companies. You probably already are.
It offers increased security and privacy and all kinds of things, even if it is centrally controlled. So some of these companies like XRP they get a lot of heat because Ripple is kind of it's a central body. So it's not truly decentralized the same way Bitcoin is, because there is a governing body for it. That's a corporation. But even companies like XRP are still running on their XRP is running on blockchain. It is still immutable. It's still, it can be made private and secure. And so that technology is also really exciting for the future, because companies left and right are building on that technology. Even Google is partnered with Chainlink for some things, for cloud storage. And, stuff like that is going to continue to happen. And it's not all about Bitcoin. It's about the space in general. And I saw some mention of Binance, and yeah, Binance is a really huge exchange. It is available in the United States, but the as far as the easiest way to invest, those are going to be for most people, it's going to be a place like Coinbase or Gemini, which offers really easy onboard or a really easy on-ramp for converting fiat currency to cryptocurrency. And it's just important to distinguish the kind of KYC aspect of how those exchanges work. Like Coinbase reports to the IRS. So if you're in cryptocurrency for the nominee, you're here to join a movement where you're not being looked at by a governing body, which again, I'm not saying, one way or the other, you should operate your life that way. I'm just saying there are a lot of crypto people that think that way. And something like Coinbase does report to the IRS. Gemini does as well. And that's why exchanges like Binance, .com, the one that's run out of China, is not allowed in the United States. Technically, they do have a US regulated branch of Binance, but there are exchanges that aren't allowed in the United States because of regulatory reasons. And so just keep that in mind. The easiest way to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and some other main coins. Now, again, there's all kinds of cryptocurrencies, right, guys? I mean, we have thousands of cryptocurrency projects, and some are scams, guys. Again, because this space has lax regulation, there are scams, and we're going to teach you guys how to identify those and how to stay away from those scam projects. But there are also plenty of legitimate, what we call altcoin projects. So, there's projects like Stellar or Tezos or Neo. These are altcoin projects that aren't Bitcoin. They are built on different blockchains, or they're adaptations of blockchain technology that are legitimate, and you can't get all of these on Coinbase. So you kind of have to learn exchanges as you go, more or less. So I would say if you're brand new to this space, start simple, start with something like Coinbase. I don't know if Silas or Kazi wanted to go into the platform any more specifically than that. Do you want to do a quick walkthrough or anything, or you just want to talk about it?
And that's the thing too. I mean, we'll get into that in another webinar. That could be, we could talk about this for hours, but
yeah.
Not all of the currencies are on the blockchain. Particularly IOTA is one. This is IOTA right here, number 27 on the coin market cap. That's actually not on the blockchain. It runs on what is called a Tango. So yeah, we'll get into that in another webinar. I don't want to confuse anyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of different adaptations of the same concept that's being formed for these companies. And that's also what can make the space so exciting, because there's so much innovation being driven to the crypto space that companies like IOTA are looking at blockchain, like what Bitcoin did, and they're thinking, how can we improve on this, or how can we change it to fit a different use case? And over time, you're going to learn what projects to look out for.
I wanted to talk about Ethereum a little bit, because I think we're going to get people really confused with all these other things. But I think if you understand what Ethereum is, then everything else makes a lot of sense.
You want to take the screen or anything, or you just want to talk?
No, I'll just talk. If anything, you guys can, go on Ethereum or Etherscan. Go on Etherscan, I guess. Okay, so if Bitcoin is similar to gold, right? I guess at this point we can kind of draw that connection. It's expensive, it's valuable, and people trust it. Mm-hmm. Ethereum, on the other hand, it's not like Bitcoin. So what I mean is, we know who created Ethereum. We know where it came from. We know when it was made. We know the people behind it. We know the companies that are invested in Ethereum, the venture capital funds that kind of supported it in the beginning. So Ethereum is more, I guess you can say, like a company, but it's still decentralized the way Bitcoin is. But what is different about Ethereum? Well, Ethereum is basically an operating system for the internet. So if you look at Bitcoin as just money for the internet, Ethereum is more like Windows or Mac OS for the internet. You can build applications on top of the Ethereum network that does not need to be installed on anyone's computer or any browser. It just kind of lives on the internet. And as long as you have an Ethereum wallet, you can interact with these applications. But how do you interact with them, right? So Ethereum and ETH or Ether are two different things. Ethereum is the network, and ETH, what you actually buy and trade, which is about $381 right now, is the commodity. It's similar to oil. So you have to, let's say you want to run some kind of decentralized application, what all these things are. There are applications. It could be some kind of software that provides some kind of service. It could be an exchange that isn't regulated. It's or not necessarily regulated, but centralized. So Coinbase, Binance, these are more like a bank. All the money goes to one place, and people deposit and withdraw from that place. Ethereum is more like the internet, and on top of Ethereum, you can build an exchange where the money lives on the internet. It doesn't live in a central place. But in order for you to interact with these applications, you have to pay. You have to pay via gas. It's called gas, and that's what you use Ethereum for. So obviously, Ethereum has a value, and the more applications that are getting built on the internet as like a it's like a layer, it's like a second layer of the internet. So the more developers that are building software on the internet and the more people are using these things, the more Ethereum is needed to actually get the job done. So you could be trying to trade something, you could be trying to solve some kind of algorithm or program some kind of AI software, but you're doing it on the blockchain. You would actually have to pay for it. And the only way to pay for it is to pay via Ethereum. So Ethereum is more like oil. If you want to say Bitcoin is like, digital gold, Ethereum is like digital oil. Now, it's not really oil, it's, technology at the end of the day, it's software.
I think
So
that
now when
comparison
you
is
look,
good though.
yeah, but all these other projects are basically kind of competing, not all of them, but a lot of them are actually competing with Ethereum. They're offering less fees because maybe Ethereum is too expensive. Ethereum might be too slow. So now you have all these other, like Polkadot,
Yeah, I was going to go through.
EOS, Cardano, Tezos.
Mhm.
These are all like competitors to
About
Ethereum. So now you kind of understand what all these other things are. But as you can see by the market cap, Ethereum and Bitcoin are way, way ahead of almost anything out there.
Mhm.
But now you can actually get an idea of what all these other things are.
And if you're just trying to
Most
get
of
your feet
them,
wet, I was going to say just Bitcoin and Ethereum to start, guys. Like, don't overcomplicate it for yourselves. Don't think that you have to come in here and like find out how to purchase all these like altcoins, what we call basically anything other than Bitcoin, sometimes Ethereum, but these smaller cap coins, altcoins, don't try to overcomplicate it for yourself. I mean, something like Coinbase does have altcoins on their platform as well, so you can invest in those too, but just keep it simple. Coinbase.com, that's one for the people in the US. It's really easy to use. Bitcoin and Ethereum, both on here, and just kind of get your feet wet. Put a couple $100s in it or whatever the case may be, and whatever you're comfortable with, and just familiarize yourself with the industry. Sorry, Kazi, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that. I was just kind of throwing that in there. But yeah, I think
oh, you're good.
I think that kind of covers. In CoinMarketCap, guys, they have an app as well. This is a really good way for you to track prices in general. And just when I was first getting into the crypto space, I had an app like CoinMarketCap that I literally just refreshed like 10 times a day, just to keep an eye on everything and to familiarize myself with the industry, see when things were moving, what coins were in the top 20 or the top 50. Back in 2017, I was looking at my phone so often that I could probably list in order the top 50 cryptocurrencies. Like, just expose yourself to the space through these apps, and by putting a little money into Bitcoin to kind of understand how it works. And yeah, I just think that's pretty important. Yeah, it's called CoinMarketCap. Someone just messaged me in the chat. Coinmarketcap.com, and they also have an app for your phone if you want to just refresh it on there, if that's easier for you. All right, let's I wanted to try to keep this close to an hour, so let's kind of break for a second and take questions. If anyone has questions about just honestly anything at this point, if it's something that we're going to cover later, or if it's too much to get into right now, just let us know what you've got. And then I think we're going to do a little bit of charting for you. I'm probably going to give the screen to Kazi. I think he has some charts. So for those of you that are Forex traders, this is going to look awfully familiar. Technical analysis does work very similarly in crypto. And so we're going to go over some charts and just show you guys a few majors. Do you teach how to trade and place a buy sell order on Binance? We'll have tutorials for Binance probably. Some of those alternative exchanges can be a little confusing. So we'll probably go over that, or we'll make a tutorial and put it on YouTube or something for you guys. How often will we have these live crypto sessions? We're going to have them once a week, David. I'm not sure if we're going to do 10 p.m. always, because this is quite we've been having like 200 to 300 people on the Forex webinars, but that's been on Sunday. I don't know if it's just because it's late or what the case may be. We're going to do them weekly, just not 100% sure what time yet. Recommendation for crypto trading platform for South Africans. I don't know off the top of my head. One of these other guys that's with me might be able to do a quick Google search and just see if they can find something that looks legitimate for you. But I don't have anything in specific for that country at the moment.
Yeah, I don't want to really get into VPNs or anything, because that's always a risk to use, they find out that you're using a VPN. VPN kind of masks your IP address is what that does.
And I'm going to drop,
yeah.
I'm going to drop my Instagram in here too. And if you guys have questions like that, and you want me to look into it off the call, I'm happy to do that. Kazi or Ashik or Silas, if you guys have Instagram or Facebook, you want to drop in the chat so that people can reach out to you if you want to answer questions. Feel free.
I kind of want to get into avoiding what to avoid with scams, and but I don't know if we're gonna have enough time for that.
Depends on how much time you need. I was trying to keep it close to an hour, but we can cover it next week, or if you want to talk real quick on it.
Because when you're researching all this, the cryptos, and going into all these exchange websites, you can really get into some mix-ups. There's actually a big case with Binance a few years ago where hackers actually changed. They created their own URL domain name, and they basically just added a few dots to Binance. So Binance.com, and they added a few dots to that, and a lot of people went in, logged in, lost a lot of money just because the hackers were able to get all their passwords and keys. Because when you're logging into a lot of these exchanges, you use what is called a 2FA authenticator, or a lot of you may have used it's like a password, kind of like a password keeper, and it generates a code, new code every basically every time you log in. It'll ask you for this code. And what's one of them? Google Authenticator, I think is.
Yeah, and Authy is another one. Yeah. I think one of the most important things, and this I've fallen victim to this multiple times. Well, very recently, guys, I lost about $3,000. I have been trading crypto for years, and I made a mistake and lost about $3,000. So some of these guys are really sneaky. So the mistake that I made, just real quick, is I Google searched a website that I was unfamiliar with to access a wallet that I had made, rather than looking up the URL and typing it directly into the search box. And I just clicked the wrong thing on a Google search because the scam site was ranked higher than the legitimate site. So you just got to be really careful, especially like Binance, like he was saying. There was a time when you could type Binance into Google and scam sites would rank higher in the SEO. And the reason they can do that is because they make so much money off of the scams. They throw tons of money at SEO on Google to rank higher than some of these legitimate sites, and they can catch you off guard. The site will look exactly the same as the legitimate one, and they'll get you to put your password or your keys into their website, and they'll drain your account. So just be mindful of that. I think Silas may have more to add. I just wanted to kind of touch on that real quick. Is I think the biggest thing for me was just, if I'm going to Binance, I'm typing Binance.com directly into the URL, like the bar at the top. I'm not Googling it. I'm not taking any chances. Like, know the address that you're going to. And another one is, a lot of times there'll be like .org or .net of some of these smaller sites or smaller exchanges, and it'll be a phishing site. It'll be a scam. So just be really careful about that.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. When you do get into these exchanges and you start creating your logins, your passwords, and all of that, what you can do is just bookmark the website, bookmark it. So that'll be the exact website you need to go to each time. So then you can't really make a mistake, when you're searching in Google or typing your URL up there. Just bookmark it. They can't really alter that. Just keep a nice little bookmark list of all your exchanges, and I wouldn't recommend like saving your passwords. on there. But yeah, if you want to, is there a way I can share my screen again? I can show you a couple things to avoid. I'm not going to go over all of them, just a few things. This is actually I wrote a cryptocurrency ebook, learn the basics. And what we're going to do is we're going to share our Discord at some point, and I'm going to drop this in there for everybody. And free to use. It's very basic, but which is what a lot of people need. Coming into this new space, because scams have been around before 200 AD even. This gives you an idea. How many scams have been around, but we'll go over the first one here. So impersonators, also known as pretexting. This is a scam where the attacker will actually present themselves as someone else in order to get your sensitive information. So a lot of people are targeted. You probably see a lot of the elderly targeting lately. They get phone calls, just saying, hey, your computer is infected. Give us your password and we can fix it. So similar to that, that can happen with crypto too. You may get a call or a message on your social media. Hey, click this link. We're Coinbase. They may make it seem like they're Coinbase, but they're not really Coinbase. So just be aware of that. They can, as I was saying, like they can present themselves as an IT service, call your phone and email you, and just make sure to double check who they are, and you can research on Google or actually research the company, make sure they're a true company. So yeah, the scammer will red flag. The scammer will try and get the victim to perform an action. And the main thing to look out for with this too is they make it seem urgent, like very urgent, like, hey, your computer's going to shut down, right away if you don't do this, if you don't give me your password or don't let me remote connect into your computer. So yeah, it's not good. I'm going to skip some of these.
I think the most important thing as far as crypto security goes, I think we can all agree, me and my partners can agree, that crypto can be one of the safest places you can have money, I think. Because in order for your funds to be stolen, you have to do something wrong most of the time. I think there are some situations where an exchange can get hacked, but also having your money on an exchange can be risky in itself because you don't have full control over it. But the beauty of cryptocurrency, and like someone mentioned the ledger earlier, we'll talk about that in a future webinar, but if you control your keys, the digital keys to your electronic wallet, your digital wallet, if you control that physically, like, I have mine written down in a safe in my house. Like if you control it physically, it is impossible for someone to steal that money unless you mess up, unless you give information off that you shouldn't be giving away. So it's good to be mindful of that and be suspicious of anything that sounds too good to be true. Some people have been hitting me up like, oh, I heard about this thing where if I send all of my Ethereum to this wallet address, they're going to double it and send it back to me. No, that's never going to be the case. Always a scam. Those are all over the place. If you're sending your money somewhere that, is unauthorized, or if you're talking to someone that is not a legitimate source from an exchange or whatever the case may be through social media, assume it's a scam first and never give your keys to anyone. Never give your login to anyone. If someone from Coinbase texts you and says, hey, I'm from Coinbase, I need your login, it's not legitimate. Coinbase is never going to reach out to you and ask you for that information. Just be mindful of these things and understand that in the crypto space, you have to mess up in order for someone to take your money. Like when I lost my $3,000 worth of Tezos, I messed up. I went to a phishing site. And, if you mess up, then you can have your funds stolen. But a lot of people are like, oh no, crypto's not secure. Like you're going to get hacked. If you take proper security measures, you're not going to get hacked. You just have to be really vigilant. You have to understand what you're doing. And we're going to help you guys with that. We're probably going to have a full webinar in the future where we're just going to talk about security. This first one, we're just kind of touching on the key things. And we are having some requests for tech analysis. I know we're closing in on an hour. Kazi, do you want to take the screen and kind of run through a chart on BTC?
Yeah, sure, I could do that.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll get this book out to everybody. You can kind of,
Yeah.
I could talk all night about
How
it,
many
but
pages is it? It's long, guys. Some of you guys have our Forex one, have our Forex ebook.
yeah.
Yeah. So my partners at Nothing But Blue and I have a Forex ebook that we gave you guys for free. This one we're going to give you guys for free as well. Silas himself put this together for you guys. A lot of really good information. So I'll get that out to everyone that wants it soon. But cool. Kazi, you want to take the screen, do BTC?
Yeah, I'll do that. Let's see. Okay. Can you guys see me?
Yeah. Cool. So we're back to technical analysis, guys. That's enough of the crypto fundamentals. Now we're back to the charts where a lot of you guys are already familiar. So Kazi's going to talk a little bit about what we've got going on here with BTC.
Looks like we went up a little bit. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So this is a chart. I understand that not everybody might be fully familiar with tech analysis, but I don't think I'm going to go into tech. What is tech analysis? I'm just going to kind of run through my analysis of what I see going on with Bitcoin right now.
Yeah. We'll do some that are more education based for tech analysis. For this one, let's just kind of talk about what you're expecting to see, and remember to stay zoomed in as much as possible too. I know you're trying to have like a wide view, but a lot of people are on phones and it's hard for them to see.
Let me get rid of VPVR. Okay, should be a little bit cleaner.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So, we're looking at a weekly chart of Bitcoin, right? So you see, I have these two trend lines drawn. I have them drawn for a reason. So if you look, we've this is the all-time high of 2017, where this was the wrong time to buy, but this is probably where most people who will mention Bitcoin, this is probably where they bought it, or somewhere around here. But that doesn't mean it's a scam or anything. But this was a blow off top on a parabolic move, and then we've had this whole bear market phase. So what we're looking at, or what I'm looking at right now, is we've actually broken this downtrend. So the purple line, I have, so the thing about Bitcoin, which you might not see in other assets, is the way it moves with such massive ranges. You actually have to use the log scale. Otherwise, you really can't chart it, you just lose all this data. So you have to use the log scale to get more data on the charts.
You may have to do a quick explanation of what that is and how to turn it on, because most people in here that are on FX have probably never pressed that button before.
All right. So the logarithmic scale is basically it basically if you look at the ranges of the price, you'll see how it actually separates. So in the lower digits, it's very like small spacing, but then the spacing gets larger in order to account for all the movements in the price. So you can actually stretch it out, and you can actually chart it a little bit better. Stocks and Forex, they don't move this way. They don't have these $20,000 ranges. So you never really need to press that button. But for crypto, you might need to do that. But so right now we're looking at it on the regular scale. And if you look at this purple line, we've touched it here and we never touched it here. And we kind of broke out from here, right? But then we have this yellow line that does actually make contact with all these points. Most traders are not using, or most new traders are not using the log scale. They're using the regular scale, and this is what they're looking at. If you switch to the log scale, what you see is we've actually made contact with this purple trend line once, twice, and now we've actually broken out of it, and we've came back for a retest, and we've broken out of it again. Now, this retest is what's interesting to me, because we came actually very close to this standard scale trend line, and we almost actually tested it. Now, I've been saying to the guys for a while, since we had this little breakdown, actually, before we talk about the breakdown, I want to mention the other thing. So we've been, in this bear market, if you're looking at it from 2017, but on a closing basis, what you'd see is we had the low in 2018 of $3,000 on a closing basis. We made the high in 2019 around 14,000. And then during, the whole drop with the pandemic and everything else, we made a low. We actually came all the way down to 3,700, but we closed at about $5,000. So to me, this is a lower low, or this is a higher low. We had the low and then a higher low. So I'm looking at this as a bit of an uptrend. The other thing is, even on a closing basis, as you can see, we had the $19,000 weekly close, and then in 2018 we've closed, basically the highest close we've had was 11.5. In 2020 we've had a few closes at 11.18, so I'm still looking at this as a higher high on the closing basis, although it's very small. um, with those things being said, we've also had this weird bottoming pattern. You can, some people call it, you can call it a head and shoulders. You have, these three little points. So it's a bit of a head and shoulders bottoming pattern. So, we got a few cases for the bull side, but at the same time, I do think there's a possibility we actually make contact with this trend line right down to the 9,200 range. And that would actually be the bottom of the weekly cloud. So that is a possibility.
You're gonna
But,
throw Ichimoto on there and confuse the crap out of everyone, but
yeah, that's why I had it closed all this time. But that's kind of what I'm looking at on the macro time frame. But let's kind of go into the daily now, and we'll see what we're kind of dealing with right now. So let me actually go into a phone. All right. So on the 4 hour, we've had kind of a breakdown from our recent local highs. We're kind of grinding up on this uptrend. We broke out, hit $12,000, and then we broke this uptrend. We broke this uptrend, retested it, broke down, retested it again, and had the big breakdown. If you also look at it, we had this really clean head and shoulders. The target for this head and shoulders is actually, oops, $9,600. So that's what a lot of people were actually looking for. If you look at the CME future, I don't want to confuse people too much, but Bitcoin is traded on the CME futures, but the futures don't trade on weekends. So there's a CME gap at 9,600. So the measured move of this little pattern was 9,600, and it got front run a little bit at 98. So right now, it's kind of confusing because we're not above 11K, which is the top of the weekly cloud, and it hasn't filled this gap. So we're still in this kind of, I would consider, a no trade zone for me, because it's a 50-50 call. We could break out, we could go down. It's not a good setup for me. But if we were to get above this purple trend line, I would assume that we're going to actually retest the prior low, the prior highs of 14,000, which you would see. There you go. We would basically, I would think, if we can cross this over here. Let me actually see something. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So if we actually flip this trend line, it would get us above this 7.786 extension, and I would actually think we're going to test this level right over here. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So we still got a way to go. A bit of a no trade zone for me right now. Without confusing too many people, if I throw on the indicators, let's go on the weekly. You'll see the top of the zone is right around this, right around 11.4, and I would say that's where we would kind of flip the trend.
Yep. And we'll do some heavier tech analysis training stuff with you guys. We'll do training on the Ichimoku cloud and some of the other tools that we use in tech analysis for crypto, because it is a little bit different. than Forex. You know, a lot of the principles, support and resistance, supply and demand, trend lines, stuff like that he was talking about, Fibonacci, that stuff is pretty universal. But there are some tools like VPVR, the cloud that we use in crypto that we might not use as often in Forex, and we'll do some training on that stuff as well. But you're on Ethereum now?
Yeah. Okay, so this is a chart of Ethereum. A few things about Ethereum. It's a pretty different chart from Bitcoin. If you see in 2017, it had an insane run. I remember buying like Ethereum at like $100, $130, and then it just freaking like it went to
Just
$1,400.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and then the come down was just as great, right? Especially if you got the short. But right now you see we've kind of made this weird bottoming pattern. Some people are calling it an Adam and Eve, whatever you want to call it, and ascending triangle if you want to look at it that way, kind of on a really broad range, however you want to look at it. But the important thing to me is we've actually flipped this range. So this was kind of prior support, prior resistance, support. We broke down resistance. So this is a level that's been kind of respected since 2017, right? And we finally flipped it. Yeah, we flipped it. We've actually never closed below it on a weekly basis. We've kind of wicked below it on a weekly, but we've never closed below it. Again, if I throw on my indicators, these are some targets I've had on this. So I actually think we're going to test the top of this cloud and test this level at about $700. I mean, it's a possibility, but the reason I also think that is because if you're involved in the crypto space right now, there's a tremendous amount of, I guess there's a lot of strange projects coming out at this time and a lot of usage in general of Ethereum, of the network. So what I mean is, remember I tried to explain how Ethereum is kind of like a commodity that you need to own to run specific applications. Well, right now there's a bit of a phase in crypto where a lot of new applications are coming out and a lot of people are, interacting with these applications. In order for them to interact with these applications, they actually need to purchase Ethereum to do it, right? So that's, I would say that's been a driving force of this kind of uptrend we've been seeing in the recent times. And I think it's going to continue for a while. Ethereum hasn't really moved the same way Bitcoin has throughout this whole last 3-year period. So, that's kind of my thoughts on Ethereum. Josh, you want to do any charts or anything? Or you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I'm happy to chart as well. If anybody has any other cryptos in specific that you wanted to have looked at, I'm trying to think. Is there anything major that we haven't covered chart wise? That maybe Tezos. You like Tezos? No,
Yeah,
but it's on Coinbase, right? Let me look.
Yeah, XRP too.
let's look at Tezos. Oof. So let me clear this chart because it's a mess. Yeah. All right. So Tezos is I consider it a pretty strong project. It's a bit of a sleeper, as in it likes to move when the rest of the market dumps, and when the rest of the market pumps, it does nothing. That's the trend we've noticed for the last couple of years, and I think it's going to continue. And what I mean is, while the market did nothing, Tezos actually kind of pumped all the way to this mid $4 range, and we've come back down, and kind of like to the support area. I don't think I have much to say on Tezos actually, except it's just.
So another thing to keep in mind, anytime that some of these projects that you're really fundamentally bullish on, if they dip significantly and you're still really fundamentally bullish on the project long term, like a lot of times, in my opinion, don't overthink it. Like just, it's okay to buy it if you're going to hold it for a while. Like Tezos is something that I plan on holding for a couple of years. So, or a year at least. And if that's the case, I try not to get too hung up on the perfect place to get into it. If it is on a dip like this and I'm fundamentally bullish on it, I like to accumulate into my bag as it's dropping. And I think Kazi's kind of the same way. in general with
Yeah,
some of these
honestly, I
projects.
don't really even chart Tezos too much. I just kind of buy it
Yeah.
and send it to my ledger. And the thing about Tezos is, you know, without getting people too confused, is you can actually earn passive income. So that's another reason I don't really care too much about the small movements of Tezos, because just by holding it, you're earning dividends, and you know, that's passive income. So that's another reason for me, because it's compounding. It's compounding interest. You know what I mean? But it's working for you instead of debt. So you know, I prefer to buy it on dips because the compounding is what interests me of Tezos more than the actual movements. Um, yeah, you know, it's kind of
Victor, we'll
one of
do.
the reasons I like Tezos.
Yeah, Victor, we'll do some. We'll probably have to do like a webinar specifically about staking or baking in the sense of pesos, and how you can kind of um, accumulate like a dividend, like you said, for holding um, the currency. Some projects are like that, not all of them. Bitcoin, actually we might want to do something on proof of work versus proof of stake at some point, guys. I'm not sure, but like Bitcoin, you don't accumulate it for holding it, but some projects like Tezos you do. So it is very similar to the stock market in that respect. It works like a dividend, but we'll talk more about that um, at some point. That's too much information to get into right this second. But someone talked about, or someone asked for ontology. I was just looking at it real quick, and chart technical analysis wise does honestly not look that great. But I know you said that there was some news coming out. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, it's pretty underwater on higher time frame. From 2017, ontology was one of those that dropped in super early 2018, I think it was, or maybe late 2017. Um, and it just got wrecked by the bear market. You know, it spiked up right when it dropped because there was a lot of heat around ontology. And then it dipped all the way back down. And it since then has just been kind of underwater. So I think if you're funded for projects like this that look like they've flatlined on a higher time frame, if I'm fundamentally bullish on it, I'm just accumulating it when it's at this range and it's moving sideways. If you're trying to make like a short-term play on it, Kazi's kind of taking a look right now on like a daily. You could probably make a play, especially if they've got news coming out. But I really try
Yeah,
not to overthink it too much.
could probably test this level. You know what I mean? Right up here, because we've seen this kind of same kind of move play out on a lot of outs one by one. Like if you look at
Mm-hmm.
TRX, they all have almost the same chart, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
some of them are moving before the others.
Yeah.
So I actually don't like TRX too much, but you know, it's a good example. Or EOS, I think. We'll see.
Yeah. EOS
EOS
is
is good.
flatlined right now too. Another good
Yeah.
example.
So like, if you see, like a lot of these things kind of have like a similar kind of setup where they've had this big drop, and they're all like kind of moving up. You know. So EOS kind of had this little breakout. I thought TRX had a very similar chart, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing. Because TRX did the. Yeah, okay, so
Yeah, it's right
TRX
there.
actually did the move. But if you look, if you kind of cross this out, right? I'm just going to put like a box over it. Don't look at this. It's a big green box. Okay, so there you go. So you know, all these kind of altcoins have a really similar pattern right now, I would say. So they've all had this kind of drop in May. And, you know, some of them are stronger than others. Some of them have moves coming out. Some of them probably won't make the same moves. But at least what I'm seeing for the most part in some of the smaller projects is they've kind of been grinding up, grinding up, grinding up. And then, you know, whatever is bullish, whatever will pump, they're testing this old high. I'm seeing the same moves play out on many coins, and some of them aren't. So I don't really personally know too much about ontology, but that's kind of the move I'm seeing on a lot of projects. So that's something I'd be looking for,
Yeah.
without saying, you know, without giving any price targets or anything. I would say most outs are on a daily time frame. They're playing out this kind of move, you know, and TRX kind of had like some news or some kind of announcement. So it really went parabolic. But I think this retest of this prior high ontology is ONT, right? Yeah. So yeah, I guess it was kind of trying to do it, and then maybe it failed, so it won't do it, or it could try again. But that's what I would be looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we had someone ask about XRP. I was putting the chart together real quick on it while you were talking. If you won't want me to look at it, but I mean, XRP actually looks kind of similar to the move that we've had recently with it, technical analysis wise, has been kind of similar to Bitcoin, honestly, on some of the time frames, because we had that,
Yeah, I mean they've
pattern.
all had this like same pattern, like this drop and then this kind of like grind up and sort of like a retest of this prior level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
And around 30 cents is a super strong level for XRP on like a weekly time frame. And I think, we hit that level and then we pulled back out of it. Some people thought we were going to flip that level. Didn't happen this time around. I think it might happen this next time. It's pulled back. It looks like it wants to retest that level. It's honestly with XRP, I think it depends a lot on what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin starts running, I've seen some correlation between the two as of recently, and if that's the case, then we could flip this level on the. Let me put my screen on.
Yeah, because point 30, that was it stayed at that level for years.
Yeah,
Actually, point 30, point 32.
yeah. I
think
mean, so that's kind of what I was seeing here. I mean, that's such a strong level for XRP that we came up and we kind of played in that level. I think a lot of people thought that we were going to do a move like this and retest. And kind of retest it like that and take off. We ended up breaking structure to the downside, and now we've kind of created this pullback that we're seeing with the rest of the market. And so right now I'm kind of just waiting for something like this to probably happen, and then I'm going to be looking for us to break like over this area and retest it, and then that's going to be a pretty bullish sign for me depending on what the rest of the market is doing. So if we flip this and we come up and we retest this trend line, then I'm going to be pretty bullish. If we can successfully flip this 30-cent range, then I'm pretty bullish on XRP for the time being. I think that I called it in the signal room a 23-cent buy on it, and I think that is a good place to accumulate. It was when we were down in this range right here. I think it was 23.7 ish. So it was like in the middle of this range is when I called a buy on it. So we're up a little bit. I think that this consolidation right here is a pretty good sign that we're going to push back up to this level. Now, whether or not we're going to respect that trend line or if we're going to flip it is to be determined. But again, if you're bullish on XRP fundamentally, and Silas could talk for a month about why he's fundamentally bullish on XRP.
Yeah,
And
I don't want to get too deep into
yeah,
it.
not right now, but we'll get into. I mean, there are some people that hate XRP because it does go against a lot of the decentralized
Right.
concepts of the crypto space. So people feel like it's kind of like a trader, it's a trader in the crypto space more or less. And at the end of the day, I think we're all here just to make money. And I think XRP can kind of act as a hedge against, it's like a hedge of a hedge, right? Because you're having some exposure to a strong centralized cryptocurrency that is making partnerships with government bodies and banks and central banks and stuff like that. So I think having exposure to XRP is important, just in case it ends up being used. But let me pull up the chat. It definitely is a hedge of a hedge. Yeah, honestly, that's like the easiest way I can explain it. The crypto space in general is like a hedge against the global elite system. And XRP is kind of like hopping in bed with the enemy kind of. And like they're kind of, it's like, it really is like a hedge against the hedge because they're centrally owned, centrally operated, but it is still on a decentralized blockchain platform. So I think having a little bit of XRP is not a bad idea. And especially, I mean, even if we were to run to any of the previous highs or targets that we had, which I think is likely if we flip this 30 cent range. I mean, if we run up to even test these other highs in the 45 or higher, then that is a really good return on your investment. All right, what are we at? 9:18. I think we should try to wrap it up. Let's see if there's any other questions in particular that you guys have. If not, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We'll be back next week with more. This was kind of just a touch on all of the basics kind of webinar. Next week, we'll probably do something a little bit more specific to a particular topic, whether that be security or kind of going over proof of work, proof of stake, stuff like that. We will talk about different topics every week. The time is to be determined. Not sure if we're going to do 10 p.m. again. We'll talk about it and see what's what. We might try an earlier time just to kind of compare the two options, but it will always be recorded and put on our YouTube for you guys to review. Kazi, I guess Ashik, you haven't really talked much at all. I know you're at Kazi's house. You have anything you want to say, or you want to introduce yourself, anything like that? I don't even know if you did that or.
Yeah, no, he's here. Ashik's actually been managing the chat this whole time, but
okay,
he's over here.
Cool. That's cool.
Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Ashik. I've been trading Bitcoin for quite some time. My first Bitcoin purchase was in December of 2016, and since then I've just been trading cryptocurrencies. So I look forward to, I guess, speaking to you guys on the next webinar. And,
yeah, all good. And if you guys want to drop your socials in the chat one more time, if anybody has any questions, they want to reach out to you or start networking with you guys, that's cool. I'll go ahead and where is yeah, we'll find a way to get that ebook to you guys. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do it yet. We might just put it in we have a free Discord server for crypto, so we might just put it on that, or I might be able to get like some kind of quick web page put together for it so you guys can download it. But one way or another, I'll get the ebook that Silas put together for you guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my Instagram in the chat one more time and my Facebook. I do my best to respond to messages as quickly as possible, and I'll try to help you out. The Discord, Damon, are you still here? Not sure if he's here or not. He might just have it pulled up, or he might not be able to unmute himself. I don't know. I'll double check on the easiest way to get you guys into the Discord, guys. We have some bots that are in it currently, so I'm not sure the most efficient way to do it, but I will. I'll keep you guys posted on that. All right, cool. Well, guys, the recording will be up tomorrow for this, so keep an eye out. I'll post it in the group that you guys are in, so that anyone that wants to review it can. And until next week, just feel free to hit me up if you have any questions. Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Later, guys.
Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.